Hello again. So today I'm going to do buttermilk biscuits, homemade buttermilk biscuits. And I've been making biscuits for a while, and this is how I came to make mine and how I like to make mine. So the easiest way to do it is to have self-rising flour. So I like to use Hudson cream when I make my biscuits. Excuse me, you don't necessarily have to use Hudson cream, but that's what I like. But it's best to do a self-rising flour because it makes it so much easier. And also, you want to use a good flour, and this is a good flour. You don't want to, because it makes a difference. You can't just go and buy, I mean, I'll tell you, I have never, ever, I love to go to Aldi's, I do, and there's things there that I really like, but I've never, ever bought their flour. When I buy flour, I buy good flour. I get Hudson cream flour, self-rising for my biscuits. I think gold medal is like a good all-purpose flour. I like to use I've used gold medal for my biscuits when I didn't have the Hudson cream self-rising. I like to use gold medal for my cookies. Of course, it's good for cakes, just all around. It's just an all-around good flour. And those are probably, I mean, I've used some others. You know, I used King Arthur before. It's a little pricey, but just in general, I like Hudson cream and I like gold medal. Those are the two that I usually buy. But of course, you know, Martha White's good. What else is there? I've used White Lily. White Lily is a very good flour. Tell you the truth, I'm not really a fan of Martha White. Lord, I could talk about flour all day long, but I'll just quit. I'm rambling. So anyhow, we got Hudson cream, and we're gonna, actually, you know, usually anytime you get a self-rising flour, there'll be a recipe for biscuits on the back. Like this one, you know, it's 2 cups of flour, 1/3 cup of shortening, and it has vegetable oil, which I don't do, and 3/4 cup of milk. Well, I mean, I don't like that recipe. That's why I'm gonna show you how I do it. But I don't know who in the world would want to put vegetable oil in biscuits, but oh well, to each his own. So anyhow, flour, sugar. I use buttermilk, whole buttermilk. And anytime you bake and you use buttermilk, you have to use baking soda with it. It's all about the chemistry. So just remember, anytime you want to put buttermilk in a baking recipe, you got to put a little bit of baking soda in there with it, or else it'll just. And Crisco. I like Crisco. So I have this is what I do my biscuits with. It's a pastry blender. You can also do biscuits, like I have a Cuisinart, and you can do biscuits in there also, but I've always just used my pastry blender because it's not that hard. You just gotta, you know, blend your dough. Butter, see, that's what I like about mine. I like for my shortening, or for the fat in the biscuit, I like to use half Crisco and half butter, because I just think it forms the perfect texture of biscuit. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna put my ingredients in my bowl, and well, I can just do that right now actually. So I'm gonna put, and I'm gonna bring the camera closer so y'all can see what it looks like. That's 1 cup, 2 cups, and I usually do like 2 1/4 cups, just because, you know, because I got 4 kids. Sometimes I even double it, but I'm just making 1 batch today. So that's about 2 1/4 cups of flour, and this is my sugar. So I do about 2 tablespoons of sugar in my biscuits. You don't have to do 2 tablespoons. You don't have to do any sugar if you don't want, but I like a little bit of sugar in mine. And just a pinch of baking soda. I mean, like, you know, well, half a teaspoon or so. Not that much, but put that in there. And let's see, and that's your dry ingredients right there. You don't have to worry about salt. You don't have to worry about baking powder because you have self-rising flour. All right. And it's a third a cup of shortening. So I do, like I said, I do half shortening and half butter. You know, and I hear people say, oh, I can't make biscuits, I can't make biscuits. I mean, there's really nothing to it. The most important thing I believe to remember is you just can't fool with the dough much, because if you do, it'll mess up your texture, it'll make them tough. So that's really, I mean, anybody can get the ingredients right. So just remember, don't fool with your dough so much. Just mix it how it's supposed to be mixed, and just be easy on your dough, because biscuits really aren't hard to make, and they're pretty quick too. I mean, you can whip up a batch of biscuits in, you know, if I wasn't talking and carrying on, I could whip these up in about less than 10 minutes. Have them in the oven in about 15. So I'm just cutting my butter off here. Oh, and let me say this. Always use butter. I could make a whole video about butter. I really could. I could talk about butter for 30 minutes. Real butter, not margarine. Not margarine. If you want to bake, never use margarine. Never, ever, ever use margarine. I don't buy margarine. I may sound like a snob, but I am a snob when it comes to margarine and butter. I truly am a snob. Even if there was not any butter, if there was no butter in any store, there was a butter shortage during the coronavirus pandemic, I still would not buy margarine. I'd try to make my own butter. That's what I'd do. So, okay, I'll get off of that. So I'm gonna put this in here. This is my butter and shortening mixture. And I mean, as you can see, it's probably just a little bit over. This is a third of a cup, so that's okay if it's a little over. But it's not that much over. Anyhow, so that's a third a cup. Alrighty, so I'm going to get started blending this up. I'm going to come forward, which I'm going to move my camera up, but I just want to show you what it looks like before I stir it. Oh shoot. Yeah, there it is. And so there you go. Okay, alrighty. So I'm all by myself today. All my kids are gone, so I have to try to adjust this camera the best way I can with my little holder that I have. So right now I'm just blending the shortening in with the flour, and that's how you do it, just like that. And if you're going to make biscuits, because before I had a pastry blender, I used a fork, and I mean, that's kind of a pain to do, but I mean, I did it for a long time. But anyhow, you can just get one of these pastry blenders, and they don't cost anything, hardly. You can get one at TJ Maxx or anywhere. That'd probably be your best place to get it. Or you could get it at Walmart, I'm sure. Get you a pastry blender there. They're only a few dollars. I don't know why I went so long. I mean, I've had this one for a long time. Don't get me wrong, but but I went anyhow. I probably didn't have one for like a couple of years. I don't know. I just did it the hard way, I guess, with the fork. Well, too, I guess I may have used my Cuisinart too at times, but I just like to do it like this. And if you can see, You see how the texture is changing there? And you don't have to do this very long, just a few minutes. Just kind of get it going like that. I love these bowls here. I got them at Sam's. They're the, what's it called? Melamine, or I don't know how you say it, melamine or melamine. These are nice mixing bowls. And so, smells like something's burning. I think it's, oh, it must be that light on this holder thing that I have for my camera. Okay, so there you go, and that's just how it's supposed to look like. Just like that right there. You can see just all the shortening there and the butter. It's all nice and blended in. So that's what it's supposed to look like, just like that. And my butter was cold, so I didn't bring that out, but yes, my butter was cold. So now, I don't want to touch that camera while I'm doing this. Okay, so now I'm shaking up my buttermilk, and I really like to bake with buttermilk. So I'm gonna do, usually you have to do a little more. If you're using buttermilk, you might have to do more than just, okay, so this is about what it looks like. I added just a little bit more flour to it, because if the dough's kind of wet, you can add a little bit more flour to it. And that's the good thing about using self-rising, is you're always in your right proportion as far as the baking powder and the salt. Whereas if you were just using regular flour and you added more flour, you might think, well, I need to add a little more salt or a little more baking powder, but you don't have to do that because you have self-rising flour. So I'm just gonna knead it in the bowl. And like I said, the main thing to remember is just not to fool with your dough too much. Just do what you gotta do and then leave it alone. Because I think that's where people tend to mess up their biscuit dough, is because they might fool with it too much. Okay, so just do it right like that. If you need it in the bowl, then you don't have to make, it's less mess. So there it is. See, I'm gonna leave it alone. Sometimes it's hard to leave the dough alone. I don't know why, but it's like you just want to keep on fooling with it. I kind of wanted to myself. I had to stop myself. Okay, so next I'm going to roll my dough out. Okay, so here's my dough, and I just floured a little cutting board, and put a little flour on the cutting board right there. So I'm going to, you know, you can even just press the dough down with your hands like that. You don't necessarily even have to use a rolling pin. If you don't have one, you can just do this, which, I mean, I have a rolling pin, but I'm just going to use my hands. Because I know some people don't have rolling pins. I used to think everybody had rolling pins until I went to people's houses and saw that they didn't have rolling pins. I just thought that was like something that was supposed to be in the kitchen. My mom always had a ton of them. I mean, no joke, she probably had about 10 rolling pins. Okay, so don't laugh at my biscuit cutter, but it's this. It works for me. It's a coffee cup with a broken handle, but I've been using this for my biscuit cutter. I like the size of it, but I mean, you can buy biscuit cutters. I'd like to have one someday. I guess I just haven't bought one. Because you really, they're kind of hard to find. I mean, I guess you could get one online, but I went to Williams-Sonoma. Lord, this has been forever ago, and they had biscuit cutters there, and I thought, my gosh, I don't need one that bad to pay that price. I'll just use my old broken coffee cup. So I'm going to put them over here on my, well, here, let me get them all cut out first. Now, when I make my cinnamon rolls, you definitely need a rolling pin for cinnamon rolls, which I'm going to be doing a video for those soon. Okay. I just think this makes a good size, and you can, and I've made them bigger before, just depends on what you want. If you want them, I have bigger coffee cups. Just depends on how big you want your biscuit. You can make it however big you want. And you know, you don't even necessarily have to use, you could use a knife if you wanted to. And then you always have this one biscuit that's the oddball. It's kind of either bigger or smaller than all the other ones. So, and that's about the thickness you roll it out. What's that about? Gosh, I don't know. How thick is half an inch maybe? Anyway, something like that. So I'm gonna put them on my pan over here. Well, let me bring my pan over here. That's what I'll do. That's my Pampered Chef stoneware pan that I love to use for my biscuits. Oh, and my oven is preheating to 425. So, and you can make these thicker if you want. You can make them thick. I wouldn't make them any thinner than this, but you can make a thicker biscuit, just however you like. And that's what they look like on the pan. So as soon as they're ready to go in the oven, I'm gonna put them in the oven for about, let me turn this back up. Oh gosh. Okay. Alrighty. Oh well, that's not working. Okay, well, there we go. So I'm gonna put them in the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes. It just depends. Kind of depends on your oven too, because all ovens are different. So I'm gonna do mine at 425 for about 12 to 15 minutes, and then I'll just look at them and I'll show you what they look like along the way. So this is just a little peek of what my biscuits are looking like. There's about a minute left. Now, I don't know what they look like on the bottom. Maybe I'll raise one up. See, they're not done because they're still pretty white on the bottom. So I'll have to keep them in there just a little bit longer, but they're rising really nice and they smell good. Okay, so I'm getting them out. Nice and brown. Okay, so I like to brush the tops of my biscuits with some butter. Just like that. You can hear it sizzling on the pan. Look at those bubbles. I put that butter in the microwave for a little bit because I didn't have any soft butter sitting out, so I just warmed some up in the microwave. Hold this camera up like this. Plus it just gives them a nice little sheen on top when you do that. And they're like all different sizes, but I mean, that's okay. They don't necessarily have to be uniform. There you go. So I'm gonna put some, this is some apple butter I made, and my sister made this homemade strawberry jam, and I'm gonna put some of that on there in this cute little jar. And then we'll see what it looks like and see what they taste like. So I wanted to pull one apart just so you could see. I don't know if you can see that smoke, or it's not smoke, steam. I need one of my camera people here to help me with this. I think one just walked behind me. Okay. See, that butter's just melting on that biscuit. See, look at that. There's nothing better than a hot roll, I guess, but biscuits are so good when they first come out of the oven. And they're nice and hot. I think I might do jelly, or not jelly, while I'm doing strawberry jam, but I think I might put a little bit of honey on the other one instead of my apple butter. But I wanted to try some of this strawberry. Look, isn't it pretty? Look at that. Look at that big old strawberry right there. Oh, I can't wait to take a bite of that. Of course, honey on this one. Gosh, that's a lot. Oh, my mouth is watering. I ain't even kidding. I ain't even kidding. Let me grab this camera here. Oh, I'll take a look. Biscuits. Homemade buttermilk biscuits. Look at my camera. Close that. So, homemade buttermilk biscuits. One with strawberry jam, one with honey. Time to take a bite. It's a good biscuit. Trying to think if there's anything I forgot, but as much as I talked, I don't really think that there is. But if you have any questions about the biscuits, you can leave it in the comments. That's the top part. That's a dang good biscuit. I do say so myself. Maybe I'm partial, but I like my biscuits. So, oh gosh, I always keep forgetting. I keep forgetting to say, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Well, I'm glad I finally remembered. I'm glad I finally remembered. I was supposed to say that in the beginning, but I didn't. So, oh, there's my assistant. I'm just coming home from the gym. He's a little indecent right now. Doesn't have a shirt on, so. Although he would probably like for me to film him without his shirt on so he can show off his abs. He's grinning right now. Jacob, you want to show off your abs? Oh well, it's my video.